of the name of Jae Malone. I keep getting something flashing on my screen, sorry. I'm the author of 6 animal stories for younger children, and I am not an artist. I needed one. And Jess Hawksworth was recommended to me. So, hello, Jess. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. You?
Lovely. It's good to see you again.
Yeah.
Right, now you have beautifully illustrated my books. What else have you worked on? What other creations have you brought together for other pieces of work?
So many. Way too many, I think.
Okay.
I mean, with university, I've designed books as well. And of course, your incredible books as well.
Thank you.
Along with pottery, other illustrations, other commissions, portraits, and bits and bobs like that, really.
I didn't realise that you created pottery as well. That's a skill in itself, isn't it? It's completely separate.
Yeah, I've done
lovely.
a bunch of random stuff.
Nice. Would you like to give us an idea of how you go about creating the kind of illustrations that may be the ones you've done for my books?
Yeah. So I'll show one of the books here, the latest one that got sent to me last week. With these, essentially, we start with reading through the manuscript, don't we? We have a chat about your vision and what I see as I'm reading through the manuscript as well. And I note down, I make scribbles and sketches of ideas of the animals, the compositions of the images. And then I start illustrating in Adobe Fresco, which I outline everything first, make sure it's nice. And then through layers, I add all the colours that you see, each individual colour on here, and all the line work. They're all completely individual layers, so I can keep moving them around and creating everything and adding other imagery in as well.
No, that's beautiful. I was thrilled to bits with the illustrations. Well, this book is Sammy the Squirrel Who Missed Christmas. I've had lots of compliments about the artwork in my books, and you do bring these characters to life, and you do make the scenery beautiful. I mean, the Loch Ness monster, the first time she appears, people were saying, "Oh, isn't she pretty?" You know, so straight away she's got long eyelashes and she just looks ugly. It's those little details that make the difference with illustrations. And you were talking about books that you've done at university.
Yeah, I've created a couple for university. One of them in a fairly similar style to how I illustrate your books as well. So I created a little book of animal facts.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
And illustrated them fairly similar to your books. So yeah, each individual one has like the animal name, like it's called A to Z of animal facts. This one actually is a book I made myself, and this was a test run with the binding as well. So yeah, I printed it all out, cut it all down and bound it all myself as well, and planned it all out. Yeah, I sat for ages writing animal facts down for this. It was unreal. But yeah, we have all sorts in here, so loads of animals.
They really are beautiful, aren't they? Charming illustrations. They're so sweet. They're just gorgeous.
I love this. I do really like it.
I remember you saying that you particularly liked illustrating animals. Is there anything that you find difficult to work on?
Actually, the answer to that is probably a recent commission that I've done for someone. I actually sold it yesterday. So I have people approaching me asking for portraits of like pets, and even portraits of people as well, like family members and stuff. And the hardest one I found is dogs with long hair. which is the one that I did yesterday. I'm used to animals with short hair or with more of like a watercolour wash. However, my normal commissions are actually pencil drawings. So just straight pencil on paper.
So what method do you use to actually create your illustrations? Say the ones, you know, in my books. Are they watercolors or are they done in some other way?
So with those ones, I use Adobe Fresco, and it's quite high up in the art community anyway for digital illustrations. And they have live paint brushes. So they have live oil brushes. So they look just like oils, they blend like oil paints.
Yeah.
Like that. And it's exactly the same with watercolor, when you can like wash it on the page and stuff, different styles of like watercolor brushes as well.
Okay.
And that's the watercolor is how I illustrate your illustration. Yeah.
Okay. And you've used some other techniques, as I understand, to create illustrations without them being the kind of thing that you would do for me, or you know, perhaps in another book. You've used different methods.
Yeah. So for my normal commissions, like pen on paper, I don't actually have any here with me now because well, they've all been sold. But so with my others, I'd normally use like a grid method. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that. Basically, no. So in a sense, what I'll do is I'll print the image off, and then I'll like draw a grid of just squares over the top of the image, and then I'll do the same on the paper that I'm drawing on.
Mm-hmm.
So then I can get the proportions perfect.
Right.
What I learned in school. However, more recently, because I do follow a lot of artists, like big artists that are absolutely incredible. And mural artists I've seen, they use the doodle grid method. So it's very similar to the grid method. However, you just doodle on a piece of paper, you overlay the image that you're going to draw on there.
Okay.
And then you use the doodles to create the proportions of the image while you're drawing the sketch.
Sounds quite complicated.
When you see it,
you'll be used to it. So
yeah. I mean, the past couple of commissions is the first time I've used the doodle grid, and it's worked. She's lovely, so yeah.
Yeah, that's lovely. So when did you how did you discover, or how that you were interested in art? How did all this come about, and sort of what sort of age were you?
So I must have been about 11 or 12. It was when I started secondary school. Sounds like quite a sad story, in all fairness. But I used to get bullied a lot in secondary school, especially at the start.
Right.
So I used to avoid walking home with like the whole crowd of people. And I used to stay at school later and go to an after school club, which was Manga Club. And we used to sit drawing and just drinking tea and eating biscuits and just
Manga is a Japanese art form, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like sort of like cartoon, really. Yeah, and it's quite an easy way to sort of step into art as well, since it's very like bold lines, features, very minimal colors. Yeah,
I've actually seen I've seen some manga illustrations in the past, and I always thought they were really quite cute. And I think they are sort of more cute style, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, quite nice. So, and did you have any training in graphics before you went to university? Was there anything as you went through school? Was there anything?
Not really. With my secondary school, it was all art and design. We all were taught to draw portraits properly, or create pottery, or just do random bits and bobs like work with clay and stuff like that. We never really did any graphic design at all.
Right.
Until I went to college, and I sort of accidentally fell into it there. I was actually asked I didn't think about this till the other day, but a book festival approached my college and my class to design a menu for there was a cookbook launch, and some of the students at the college created dishes from this cookbook, and they were all based around children's books as well. So they were dishes from like Lord of the Rings, like Winnie the Pooh, well, The Hobbit specifically, and stuff like that. So I actually created a menu for that, and that was the sort of my first step into graphic design, even though I illustrated it anyway.
Yeah, that is interesting. It's interesting, some of the sort of different experiences that you've had. So yeah, I have we've been talking about your illustrations with items, with things, and with animals, but how about with humans? How are you with creating the images of humans? Do you find them that difficult?
Do you mean in the sense of your books or portraits of people, or?
Yeah, maybe just sort of the kind of illustrations that you would have done for my books.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that actually drawing people is more difficult than animals? Or, yeah.
I think with your books, because you describe the people like exactly how you'd see them. So what I tend to do with yours, I find reference images with all these individual features,
right,
and like try and place them together and stuff. It can be more of a challenge, because when I've done people before, I've just had an image in front of me and then just copied it, essentially. Yeah.
One of the images that really catches the eye, well, there's two in particular that I know people have commented on. One is the Tower of London for The Raven and the Thief, and the other one is Blue Teaches a Lesson. Your image on the cover of Twilight.
I really love this image. Yeah,
I mean, that's just beautiful. Yeah, that's really, really lovely. And it's one that gets commented on a lot. When the books are out on display, people pick them up to have a look, and it's obviously, covers are attractive, and the cover is the first thing that people see. And when they've got a strong, beautifully coloured image like that, it's one of the first that people go to. I wanted to ask you something. When I was in my last year at primary school, we had a teacher there. She was middle-aged, and she very rarely went for anything experimental. She always sort of stuck within the rules, kind of thing. Well, because it was a country town, you generally found that your teacher took every lesson apart from PE or something, well, we were having an art class, and she had this great big heavy book on her desk, and we were about to start sort of go back to something we'd already started, and she went, "No, leave that." She got the book, opened it, and slammed it shut, and then said, "Paint that sound."
Yeah.
That completely threw us. Now, I'm throwing that one in your direction. What would you have come up with, do you think? Because we didn't have any more time than I've just given you.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Oh. So
sorry about this.
Describe like that sound of the slam. Like that when she slams the book together, you can just imagine like the paint squirting out or something like that, and just like sort of like a mess on a page. Yeah.
I remember I just did a lot of zigzaggy lines and sort of said they were sound waves.
Yeah.
That was the only thing I could think of. I think
You think of like the comic book, like boom, slam.
yeah, quite a few. I remember in the class did sort of breaking eggs and that sort of thing. Yeah, it was just I just thought I'd throw that one in there just to see what you would have done with it. So
Yeah, that one is different.
we have a question here. Who decides who illustrates?
There's a couple of questions.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
You can see them okay?
Yeah.
Right, so Beatrix Potter?
Yeah, start with the first one. So
Yeah.
were there any books you read in childhood which influenced you and led you to illustrating? I mean, Beatrix Potter. Definitely. When I started with these books and me and Jae spoke about them, like the idea was kids book style, watercolor, Beatrix Potter kind of vibes. Definitely. I mean, I've always loved books anyway. Like when I was younger, I'd just be sat reading all the time. And a lot of them probably a bit too older for my age. So there wasn't many illustrations in them.
All right.
But I have studied quite a few artists that say work for bands like Pink Floyd, like Gerald Scarfe and stuff like that. His illustrations are incredible. I've been influenced by so many people. The amount of artist studies that I've done and stuff like that over the years.
So you tend to be a Dali fan, don't you?
Yeah.
That sort of imaginative. What's the word for it? Is it surrealism?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. The one that always threw me was Isha. With his staircase.
Yeah.
You see that one? Yeah.
Yeah.
The optical illusion there is just very strange.
Very trippy.
So, next question that's up there: who decides on what's illustrated?
So this is pretty much part of our process, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Jae will send me the manuscript, and I mean what we've done before as well is that I've gone through the manuscript and like highlighted like things that I think would make a good image. And then Jae has also, when she's sent me the manuscript has said like, oh, I think this would be a great image. And then also sent me along like descriptions and even reference images to go along with them as well. And then I think it's throughout the illustration process as well, we sort of speak about the front cover and what we think would be best for it.
Yeah, the covers front and back, they're important. The books were never meant to be picture books. They were meant to be for either bedtime reading, parents or grandparents, with little illustrations here and there just to brighten things up and just for interest, weren't they? It was meant to be that way. They were designed to be like that, or they were for children who had gone on to a maybe second stage of reading and independent readers that would just enjoy them, but they didn't actually need pictures all the way through, like the Janet and John books and the Ladybird books. There's so many pictures in there. They were never meant to be like that. So, I was trying to think, which is your favourite of the illustrations you've done for the books?
Oh God.
Do you have one?
I have to try and think now. I did really enjoy illustrating the squirrels. Definitely.
I think it shows.
But I think we've spoken about this image before anyway. But it's actually in Blue Book. I call it my Blue Book. but this image here,
Yeah, the fox cubs and
images.
the badger cubs playing.
Yeah, I just think it's
Basket.
adorable. I was very proud of that one. Even though it's very simple, it's very adorable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one in one of the other books of the kitten when she's caught in the water,
Yeah.
and you've got the otter cubs trying to save her, one underneath to sort of keep her out of the water. How did you find that? Because that must have been quite a difficult one to do. Yeah, there she is.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I fully winged that one. I kept sketching and finding like sort of different reference images just to try and sort of compose it in a way that you can see what was happening.
Mm.
But yeah.
So you've been through art college and you've been to university, you've got your first degree, and now you're doing your master's.
Yeah.
What are you actually concentrating on for your master's?
So completely different direction to books and illustration. It's user experience design. So that's to do with designing apps and websites and stuff like that. Like my degree is actually in graphic design, not illustration, even though I've managed to incorporate it as well into my design degree. But yeah, I thought it might be an interesting industry to go into as well.
And there's something that we sort of touched on once before we were having a conversation. Do you think that people actually need to have academic qualifications for their artistry if they want to get on in sort of a media, some kind of media company, or would they need? I'm not quite sure. Yeah, advertising or something like that. What about a natural talent? Would that get them into a career, or would they have to have the qualifications?
I don't think qualifications are necessary at all. I mean, even before I went to university and stuff, like I'd made friends. I was already doing commissions while I was doing my GCSEs.
Right.
And stuff. I don't think it's necessarily what you know or the qualifications that you have. It's a lot of the time it's who you know, and you get incredibly lucky with that. Like the fact that I've met you and been able to illustrate 6 kids' books now, like that was even before I'd started university. And yeah, I've made connections throughout that, but it's about pushing yourself out there and showing that you enjoy it and showing that you're willing to keep on learning, because I'm always learning with these kids' books and other work that I do for people. It's always making connections all the time.
Yeah. It's you just surprised me actually, because I hadn't actually thought about the amount of time that's gone by since we started working together.
Yeah.
It's quite scary.
I remember, really. Yeah, because it was when I was in college, you sent me the first manuscript, and yeah, and I remember sitting in bed trying to figure out like, how the hell am I going to do this? And
but you did.
I started university as well, I managed to get advice from one of the illustration tutors on how to go about illustrating a kid's book and how he did it, because he has a publishing company as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We've got another question there.
What is the most challenging book and why? Oh, I'd say probably the first one, Lorna and the Loch Ness Monster.
Right.
From what I just said. Purely because I was brand new to it, and I actually use different software to what I use now anyway, and I wasn't 100% sure how the software worked as well.
Right.
So it was an entire learning process for this one as well. But I'm still glad people love it anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, I have to say, people love the fact that the people that have got the book absolutely love the fact that Lorna was this very pretty, Heather was this very pretty monster. So, excuse me. Now I'm gonna ask you: is there any place in particular that you would like to visit for the art side of things, or is there anything in particular? Any particular maybe art museum or art gallery that you would like to go to, or any one piece of art that you would really love to see, that kind of a bucket list type thing, although you're very young still?
I mean, I do have quite a few, because I do study artists a lot. I do like watch podcasts, watch YouTube videos about great artworks and stuff like that. But definitely, I think first on the list is the Van Gogh exhibition. Definitely, because I've studied his work as well. I've recreated Starry Night for college and stuff like that. Yeah. And the way that he worked in his process, and the Doctor Who episode as well, that made me cry. So.
Oh, yeah, I think, yes, I remember that one.
Yeah, when he brought him to the future, and because he asked if he ever amounted to anything, so the Doctor brought him to his own exhibition in the future and asked the curator, and he described him as one of the most incredible artists of all time. And he's just saying that to the artist himself. Yeah, it just made me cry. I was like, it got me.
Yeah, I suppose, I don't know. I mean, art doesn't have to be pretty for me, but I don't particularly go for modern art. I don't want to have to think too much about it. I want to see something that I think, yes, that's beautiful. It doesn't have to be, as I say, pretty. But Turner, Rossetti, those are the kind of artists that I really like. The Fighting Temeraire, for some reason, is one of my favourite paintings of all time. I've got no idea, but it makes me very sad, because she's been through the Napoleonic Wars and she's being scrapped, and I just think that's awful. So now about your future, what do you see yourself doing, and obviously you're going to carry on with commissions and that sort of thing, but how would you feel if you got too busy to be able to do those commissions? I mean, I know you've said sometimes that when you've been really under the cosh, if you like, as far as uni is concerned, and I said, well, do you want me to leave you alone for a little while and let you get on? You said, no, I enjoy doing these because they give me a break from the other things. They're more relaxing. How would you feel if the time came when you just got so busy with whatever your career was that you wouldn't have the opportunity to go back and do these little fun things?
I think I'd probably work it the same way I do now.
Right.
So with uni and stuff, and with other work, what I tend to say to people when they ask me, it's like I'm not open for commissions right now, but I'll let you know when I am, or I'll post it out there and let people know. Because I don't like letting people down. I don't like saying no, but obviously there's going to be some points where you have to. There
are times when obviously your university side of things has got to take priority.
Definitely, yeah.
Or family commitments, or there's often going to be something that you're going to say, well, no, I just don't have the time to do it right now. I have to be able to concentrate on other things.
Yeah, I mean, I have done it before though. I think I might have actually done it before with your books as well. I've just sat up working through the night as well and just got on with stuff and then just caffeinated and carried on the next day with whatever else I've got to do.
I didn't know you did that.
Oh, with uni work and everything over the past 3 years, you get used to it a bit. I'm not as good at it now as I used to be. I'm a bit older now, but yeah.
Well, I think we've probably got at least one more in the pipeline. The one about, we've talked about it before, rescued dogs.
Yeah. I look forward to that one.
Yeah. So I would base that on the dog we have now. You've seen what she looks like.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. She's she's quite a character. I think there's a bit of wolf in there as well because she's got Cleopatra eye makeup.
Yeah.
Romanian street dog.
I'm surprised no one's knocked on the door yet and made her bark.
Sorry?
I'm surprised no one's made her bark yet.
She's
Knocking on the door.
No, she's been very quiet. She's behaved herself, but now at least the postman called before 1 rather. Get it right. So, yeah, I think does anybody have any more questions they would like to ask Jess? And is there anything that you would like to say, Jess, about sort of where the things that you've done in the past? Are there any others? There was something to do with iron filings.
Iron filings, yes. I actually have that book here to show. It's going to be awkward to show.
Right.
As part of in my second year of uni, we had to create an experimental book based on a quote. And I chose Paulo Coelho, if you've heard of him. He wrote Coelho. I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Can I have a look again?
It's going to be back to front, isn't it? Can you see it?
Paulo Coelho. Yeah. I think it's
he's Brazilian.
I think that makes it Portuguese rather than Spanish, I believe. But
yeah.
I'm sure it's Coelho.
Coelho. Yeah.
I guess.
I've always read his name. I've never really said it out loud that much. You know when you have your own interpretation of a word when you just read it in your head and then you say it out loud and it sounds absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, well, the other thing is that other people might have different ways of saying it and think, why are you saying it like that?
Yeah, you're like scone and scone. Yeah.
Yeah. So
with this book though, it looks very blank.
Yeah.
However, what I did, I embedded magnets into the front cover. So when I pour iron filings onto it, should I do that now? Should I demonstrate that?
Yeah.
I'm going to get in trouble for this mess, aren't I? Oh, wow. I'll tidy up, it's fine. I think
whose is the football shirt behind you?
It's my granddad's. He's a Rochdale fan. My grandparents are from Rochdale.
Right.
Yeah. He was like, I can take it down if you want. I'm like, no, it's fine. Yeah, I don't know if it show it very well.
Anybody wants to look behind me, they're going to see Sergey from the Meerkat adverts.
Oh my god. You know something? I think some of the magnets have messed up over the years. It's very hard to see this. Oh my god. It's probably not the best demonstrated this, as I've poured most of them on, which I shouldn't have really. But you're supposed to be able to make out the words. And then
I could see shapes.
yeah, so the magnets are embedded in the
Oh yeah,
of
well,
Alchemist. However, I've poured way too much on, so it's a bit clumpy at the moment. I mean, the images for this are on my Behance and Instagram anyway. So yeah. So if anyone would like to follow those, my
okay.
Behance is Jess Hawksworth anyway, as says on the screen.
So so career opportunities, if they presented themselves, like maybe storyboards of films or something like that, would you like to be involved in that side of things?
Definitely, yeah. Animation is something that I've done as part of uni, and we've sat for hours sometimes just storyboarding loads of animations and stuff, and then creating some of them as well.
Animation must take ages.
It depends on the kind of animation. I mean, the ones that I've done have taken a very long time before, taken a few late nights and a hell of a lot of keyframes, if you know about animation a little bit.
Was a friend of mine that actually ended up, she entered a competition and ended up, she got the prize and went out to the DreamWorks studio in America. And she was out there for about a week or so learning techniques and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That was quite something. One of the first animated films that I ever saw was Disney's Fantasia.
Mm.
And I think I mentioned that to you once before. To have dancing Chinese mushrooms and hippopotami, yeah, in tutus. What else was it? Ostriches flapping around, sort of just different pieces of music. But all Disney had done was to take pieces of classical music into each of his top designers, a different piece of music, and said, right, draw that. And it must have been quite a challenge, I would have thought, but it was made an absolutely beautiful film, very old now. And at the beginning of it, you see the orchestra, but if I remember rightly, they're all in shadow.
Mm.
And then they start playing these pieces of music, and you go from one section to the next, and it's quite something. And it must have taken ages to try and do something like that. I mean, to go from Mickey Mouse's Steamboat Willie into Snow White, and then to do something like that, just quite incredible. And the way that animation has moved on now to things like Enchanted, it's so good. It's seamless, and I can't imagine how long it must take. But of course, there's all these new techniques of being able to do things like that.
Yeah, with software now, there's I know mainly Adobe software for animation and stuff, but they have made things so much easier. You can plop an illustration in there, and you can create sort of like points of movement on the illustration, and you can just change that seamlessly without having to like redraw the entire thing.
Yes, to be able to, you sort of imagine the pages being flicked on with
like a little
with the old style.
Yeah,
quite something. So I think we're close to our time now. Anything else that you view as a challenge for the future, or anything else that in particular you would like to do?
Oh, there's so much. I mean, when we spoke about like going to see artworks and stuff earlier, and also trying different styles of art as well. Like I would say to create a mural. I've already created a couple anyway. I actually have one at the primary school that I went to. I helped create a mural there when I was still there.
Right.
and I have one at Staff's uni now as well.
Right.
A few of us were commissioned to create murals for there.
Okay.
So having a go at another mural would be quite fun, and different techniques and stuff.
It certainly sounds as if you've got your, in sort of different, various ways, you've got a career in art for your future. It doesn't, I can't imagine you sort of going in saying, oh no, I've had enough of this, and going off to do something completely different, because this seems to be, you've got such a talent. It'd be interesting to sort of keep an eye on you and see what you do in the future, just to see how you're doing.
I do like doing really random stuff. I like learning something new. That's why I was just going to do illustration at uni, and then my tutor turned to me and she was like, Jess, you've done so much random stuff over this course. This was during my foundation degree. She was like, you may as well do graphic design. They do loads of random stuff on that course as well. And I was like, yeah, go on then, I'll give it a crack.
Yeah. No, it must be fascinating, because you've got so many different aspects of it. I mean, art, there's so many different things that you can get into. I mean, you're already into pottery, but oils and iron filings and pencil drawings and the watercolors, and there's so much variety. No, I think it's lovely. It's lovely.
Yeah, I like entertaining myself a little bit and doing a bunch of random things. So yeah, and learning something new, definitely.
No, it's terrific. Right. Well, thank you to everybody who has asked questions, and thanks, Jess. I think it's been a lovely 3/4 of an hour.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go.